Thumbs up? Thumbs up. Okay. Hi, this is Match Rundown. If you enjoy movies as much as we do, subscribe and hit the like button down below.
Today we're going to be looking at the spoiler-free review for Wesens 2020. The film was directed by Derick Muller. It stars Morne Visser, Albert Moret, and P.T. Bayers.
Overall, the film is about found footage of an unidentified object found on a farm in the Karoo.
It follows the journey of a special investigations unit that look at this found object.
So the good. I think in general this movie had a lot more to like about it than it had to dislike. Especially the fact that I found this to be a very intriguing story, because throughout the movie you want to know, okay, what's going to happen next? Where's this going? So I like that aspect of mystery, like what's happening at times.
So the actors were very good at keeping up with this mysterious atmosphere, this uncertainty of what's happening, what's going on. They were all pretty good. I mean, could find no fault with their performances. I feel like they were very respectful of the times and when the movie was set, because it was set in 1967,
Yeah.
so it's like smack dab in the middle of apartheid. They took the right attitude to the movie, which was good.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to remember when you watch the movie that you have to think about it in the context of when it was filmed. Although I don't think there were too many huge things that you need to really think of contextually, because they do contextualize it very well. So you kind of get a feel of when it's playing off. I like the interplay between the different viewpoints taken on in the movie, and obviously we'll talk about that a bit more in our spoiler review.
Also, the side characters were, like, there were 2 or 3 side characters. Not apart from the main 4, there weren't very many, but they did a good job and they were fun.
It was quite a small production because it's an independent film, and I think what's really important is to utilize every single member of the cast in a very significant way, and I think that they did this very well. I didn't miss 100 people running through the streets. I thought it was intriguing and interesting enough, and the actors did a good enough job that there were 4 most of the time, and that was fine.
The setting in the Karoo, like, it's in the middle of the Karoo, you expect there to be no people around except for maybe a farmer or the streamlined production worked very well.
So just to contextualize the Karoo for those of you who might not know much about it, it's a really beautiful landscape, but it is a semi-desert area, so it can be quite dry at certain times of the year, and there will be a few plants, but they can often look almost dead because it is so dry.
There were quite spectacular shots of the landscape of the Karoo throughout the movie. They went out of their way to show the beauty of the Karoo, even though it was shot on those Super 8s and 16mm footage, which was grainy in that, but it still showed off the beauty of the Karoo, which was fantastic.
I really thought the score was well thought out, because they used a lot of natural sounds, because obviously in found footage they can't really use music as a background. So they use these natural sounds in a very smart way, and there was the low humming almost throughout the movie, and that humming really unsettled me, which really spoke to the mood of the movie and really made me feel more immersed within the movie. So I enjoyed that quite a lot.
And they did manage to squeeze some music in, which was clever. It was done very well.
So just concerning the subtitles, I really found the Afrikaans to English translation done very well. Of course, with any language, there are certain subtleties that can be missed. For example, in Afrikaans, if you say handschoentjies, you're really talking about small gloves, whereas the translation just said gloves. And when you say handschoentjies, you would be talking to a child. Normally, if you're talking adult to adult, you would say handskoene. So kies is like small, it's almost infantile. But even though it wasn't necessarily translated into English, the actors did a really good job of showing that, almost that belittling or talking down to someone else. Because if 2 adults use that language, it's more like, okay, I'm talking down to you. Unless obviously there's some very familiar family kind of vibe, which in this case definitely was not. So it was definitely talking down. And the actors portrayed that talking down, and even the footage, the way it was filmed, showed that mood, showed that talking down. For example, the one person who was talking down to another was standing and the person that was being spoken down to was sitting when that kind of language was used, amongst a lot of other very smart devices that they used. So I really enjoyed that a lot. So as far as translation goes, I give it a thumbs up. Awesome. Great job.
I found it quite easy to follow along with the subtitles. They weren't too fast. They were easy to read. Didn't detract from any of the action. So yeah, I'd say definitely if you don't speak Afrikaans, following the subtitles is going to be a piece of cake. So this brings it to the bad for me. And it's going to be the most bizarre bad I ever say. It didn't shake enough for a found footage film. Like, I get vertigo, I get nauseous at these movies, and I don't want too much movement. But at the same time, for it to be a found footage film, you need some movement. You need some shaky. You need, when somebody's running from point A to point B, I'd like to know that they're actually running, not, wow, he's got a steady cam. It detracted a bit for me.
For me personally, I don't think it detracted. I feel like, they use tripods. These are people who possibly are experienced using cameras, so maybe that's why it didn't shake more. And I know that there were interviews done with the director, and he said that he himself gets vertigo and gets nauseous, so he didn't want to necessarily put a lot of that shaky found footage. I was fine with that. I didn't even notice there wasn't a lot of shaking until after William mentioned it, when the movie was done. So didn't bug me at all.
Speaking of detractions, there were some instances where it detracted from what you'd expect of a found footage film. It kind of pulled you out of, oh, this is found footage. I wasn't too keen on that, but in general they did remain within the found footage feel.
Yeah.
Also, found footage films do tend to be slower paced. It suffered from this as well a little bit at the beginning. There's a lot of these long shots, and I understand they're establishing shots and we're looking at the scenery and it's good, but they're also feel like shots to take up time to progress us along, and it sometimes can slow the pacing down too much.
It wasn't a very long movie. It was about an hour and a half long, so I don't feel like they dragged it out to a point where I got annoyed or where I lost interest. But yes, as William says, most found footage films suffer a little bit from pacing, and if you go and watch a found footage film, you expect there to be times where the pacing is slower when they're establishing the storyline, because obviously they can't just cut and fast forward, because that's not really realistic for a found footage film. So just keep that in mind when you do watch found footage movies. Overall, I do think that the movie is a lot more drama sci-fi found footage feel than an action sci-fi found footage film. So it's not so close to Cloverfield because it has a much more of a drama feel.
The film was definitely designed to make you think. It's more of a... It does fall into the drama, sci-fi, found footage film, but it's also art house. It's also there to make you... to impart a message, to impart something to just try and twist your head around at the end, which was quite nice.
And definitely invoked a lot of thought, and William and I definitely discussed this quite a bit after the movie and how we interpreted the end. So you guys watch the movie, let us know what you thought of the end and how you interpreted that, because even going out when they rolled into the credits at the end of the movie, the choice of music they used was very in line with that final thought that they wanted you to think about. So I enjoyed that quite a lot. It was awesome. And I thought that was a nice transition into the credits right at the end. So I didn't mind that there were end credits because it played on very well, even though it was a found footage movie. So rating-wise, I really loved it. I would definitely give it a solid 8.
Rating-wise, this was tough because I could have given it anywhere between 2 and 10. Like, it could fall on the 2 side, it could fall on the 10 side. I think overall, probably a 7.
So that leaves it being a 7.5 average from the two of us. So definitely worth a watch. Even if you don't speak Afrikaans, the subtitles are very good, the acting is very good in portraying the meaning behind the language. Go out, watch it, it's awesome. Bye!
Later.